Forbidden love with a werewolf shifter. But what happens at midnight? Dark romance unveiled. The witching hour looms, a time when secrets breathe and shadows dance under the pale glow of the moon. Every heartbeat echoes in the stillness, but for Ella, it wasn't just the eeriness that gripped her throat. It was the bone-chilling fear of the unknown and the tantalizing allure of a love forbidden. She had heard rumors, whispers on the wind that sent shivers down her spine. A werewolf shifter prowling the woods beyond her small town, a creature cloaked in dark mystery and primal strength. It was said that those who strayed too close never returned, their fate sealed under the curious gaze of the moonlit sky. As twilight deepened, an unusual chill wrapped around her, curling through her fingers and tightening in her chest. The silhouette of trees clawed at the ever-darkening sky. Shadows flicked away by the sudden rustles of leaves. A scent wild and musky filled the air, stirring something deep within her. Was it the promise of danger or the thrill of uncharted desire? Secrets whispered in the night seemed ready to unravel, tantalizing and terrifying all at once. But the air crackled with something more, a palpable tension pulling her deeper into the mysterious woods. She felt a magnetic pull, urging her forward with each shaky breath. Her heart raced, hammering wildly, a wild drum echoing her trepidation. Muffled howls echoed, weaving through the trees like broken promises. It could be a warning or an invitation she couldn't resist. The sound of rustling leaves shattered her focus, making her heart lurch. She turned sharply, her senses sharp, hands trembling. There in the hazy underbrush, glowing eyes pierced through the darkness, a flicker of white teeth glinted in the low light. The beast hung between the worlds of human and monster, and suddenly everything felt so real. She was spellbound, caught in an instant where fear and fascination collided. What did he want? Did he hunt? Or was he simply as lost as she? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The beast stepped forward, muscles rippling beneath his silver fur. Each stride a deadly promise, a magnetic force pulling Ella closer. Panic clashed with a curious urge. A question lingered in the air, heavy and unspoken. Could love exist where fear thrives? As she gazed into those intense, unyielding eyes, a spark ignited, tempered with a caution born from the depth of human tragedy. The wolf shifter could hold her heart or tear it to pieces. And as the clock struck midnight, everything changed. Would she dare to embrace the darkness of his world? Or would she run back to her safe, monotone life, forever haunted by what might have been? The moon hung high, casting eerie shadows that wavered and danced like ghosts, as Ella took a hesitant step forward. Every inclination told her to flee, yet her feet remained rooted to the damp earth, drawn by an invisible thread. He was no longer just a creature of folklore, this was real. This was the wolf shifter, standing mere feet away, exuding an intoxicating mix of danger and allure. His eyes, fierce yet strangely vulnerable, locked onto hers. Time stretched, the night air thick with tension. You shouldn't be here, his voice, low and gravelly, vibrated in her chest. There was warning laced within, and yet she felt an undeniable urge to stand her ground. What are you? She whispered, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a frantic bird desperate for freedom. He took another step, and the moonlight painted silvery shadows across his form. I'm not just a wolf. I'm a protector of these woods and a prisoner of my own nature. Ella's heart wrenched. There was a past hidden behind those eyes, pain, loss, and perhaps a glimmer of hope. A prisoner? Yes, he admitted, voice thick with emotion. This curse, it binds me to the darkness. I can't help what I am. Her mind raced. Could she dare to uncover the truths hidden in the silence of those woods? The stories she had heard, the images they conjured, felt insufficient now. She dared to take another step closer, trying to bridge the chasm of fear and curiosity. You don't have to stay here alone. Maybe there's a way to break it? A flash of surprise crossed his face, swiftly replaced by melancholy. No one has ever sought to help me, Ella. I'm used to being alone. It's safer that way, but safety comes at a cost, she insisted, determination igniting a fire within. What if I want to understand? I want to know you. I want to help. His gaze softened, the tension crackling between them shifting slightly. Understanding is a double-edged sword. You could just as easily fall into the darkness like so many others before you. Ella's stomach tightened, her throat dry. Fear washed over her in waves, yet she held her ground, closer now than ever. Then let me choose. Let me decide what I'm willing to face. The air suddenly shifted sharp and electric, as if the night itself were holding its breath. A low growl rumbled deep in his throat as if wrestling with some internal struggle, a battle between instinct and undeniable attraction. Ella, it won't just be easy. You could find yourself caught between worlds. With me, danger lurks in every shadow. The shadows around them quivered, brushing against her skin, and for a moment she hesitated. Could she truly walk alongside him? A creature cloaked in primal despair? The weight of the moment pressed heavily upon her. She could run back to her old life, safe but unfulfilled, or leap into the unknown. Just then, an unearthly howl echoed from the depths of the forest, rising high above the cacophony of their racing hearts. Fear slammed into her as she recognized the wolf's mournful cry. It was a call to arms, a declaration that he was not alone after all. The forest was alive with unseen threats, hunting, waiting. Ella, we need to go, he urged, eyes darting to the shadows that began to shift ominously. Now. But something inside her rebelled against the idea of leaving. Would she run, abandoning the flickering flame of potential connection? Or would she stay, come what may, forever entwined in his dark fate? As she wrestled with her decision, the ground beneath her trembled, and everything she knew came crashing down. But could her heart survive what was to come? The clock was ticking, and the midnight hour brought an even greater danger and a revelation that would shatter everything. The wind howled through the trees, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Ella's spine. Her heartbeat rang in her ears, drowning out the whispers of the forest, the tension thickening like dark fog. The wolf shifter's eyes were a storm of uncertainty, and she could sense the struggle within him, a silent plea mingled with an overwhelming dread. Ella, please, we must go, he said again, urgency creeping into his tone, tightening the bond she felt pulling her toward him. But even as his words danced on her skin, the promise of adventure tinged with danger, she hesitated. A crack of twigs behind her snapped her out of the trance. They weren't alone. Faces materialized from the shadows, dark figures merging from the night, eyes gleaming with malice. The forest felt alive with their presence, like a predatory beast surrounding its prey. Her breath caught in her throat. Who are they? Ella stammered, glancing back at the shifter, who stood taller, fierce and almost instinctual, ready to defend. Others like me, he growled, teeth bared, muscles taut beneath his skin. But they serve a darker purpose. They feed on fear and desire. If they find us here, a robed figure stepped forward, face obscured by a hood. Its voice slithered through the air, smooth and venomous. The prisoner and the curious girl, what an exquisite sight. A little dance in the moonlight, perhaps? Across the clearing, the other figures chuckled, a sound that echoed eerily in the silence of the night, set against the natural world that felt suddenly, achingly fragile. Ella's heart raced. Shadows danced around her, and she could feel the temperature dropping, freezing moments of her existence into surreal snapshots of dread. What do you want with us? The figure took a step closer, eyes glinting beneath the hood, revealing nothing but malice. We want the wolf, darling. He belongs to us. But you, sweet girl, could be something altogether different. A new pawn in our game. Fear clawed its way up her throat as she considered the implication. The darkness here wasn't just a backdrop. It was alive, pulsing and consuming. The shifter stepped in front of her, blocking her view of the creatures, but she could still feel the danger hanging in the air. No, he growled, voice low and dangerous. She's not a pawn. You will not touch her. The cloaked figure chuckled, unfazed. How noble. But remember, dear wolf, a heart caught in two worlds often finds itself torn apart. Who will protect her if you fall? Ella's breath quickened. Could she trust him? The weight of that thought crushed her beneath its gravity. If she stayed, there was no guarantee of safety, but leaving risked losing whatever bond was forming between them. The leader of the group raised a hand, and sudden winds whipped around her, pulling her towards the dark figures looming on the edge of the woods. Join us willingly, girl, and we can unlock the powers within you. Refuse, and you'll watch him suffer as we revel in his torment. The sky rumbled, a distant thunder echoing her rising anxiety. She felt the ground sway beneath her, a magical disturbance that threatened to unravel the last threads of her determination. Ella, hold on. The shifter's voice roared above the chaos, wrapping around her heart like steel. Trust me. But how could she trust him, when Midnight's threat loomed large and ominous? As she wrestled with the fear and longing swelling inside her, the forest erupted into chaos. Shadows blurred into strikes, and the figures advanced, poised to claim their prey. Now, with the stakes higher than ever, Ella stood at a crossroads, each choice tantalizingly dangerous. Would she embrace the darkness, diving deeper into the unknown, or flee into the safety of the light, abandoning her heart in the process? The moon unveiled its secrets, but as the clock neared the hour, revelations awaited that could alter everything, and the time for decision was slipping away. Ella felt the wind slice through the air like a knife, each gust mingling with the escalating tension that gripped her heart. The dark figures advanced, their faces obscured, shadows wrapping around them as if they thrived on the fear they instilled. Her instincts screamed to run, but the pull towards the shifter felt stronger, a tether she was terrified to sever. Get ready to move, the shifter hissed, his eyes flickering dangerously. In the next breath, the cloaked leader raised a hand, fingers curling like a spider's. You cannot escape your fate, sweet girl. The moon has chosen you. Suddenly, a surge of energy spiked in the air, setting her skin prickling. Before she could grasp the meaning behind his words, a blinding flash erupted from the leader's palm, illuminating the clearing in a violent glow. Ella flinched as the light met her eyes, washing over her like a wave of heat. The ground heaved beneath her feet, and chaos erupted with a guttural roar. The shifter lunged, putting himself between her and the encroaching darkness. Shadows danced around them, snapping at her heels as the figures lunged forward. Now Ella. Time fractured. She moved on instinct, heart thundering, adrenaline blasting her senses alive. They darted through the trees, the moonlight casting long shadows. Ella barely kept pace, the shifter's presence a solid wall against the carnage behind them. But no matter how fast they ran, the cold grip of the pursuers clawed at her mind. What do they want? She gasped, lungs burning. They want to use us both, he growled, his eyes scanning the trees, searching for any signs of their attackers. Panic surged within her. But why? I don't understand. The atmosphere crackled, charged with dark energy, and he shot her a pained glance. You're more than you realize, Ella. They see power in you, connection to forces beyond this world. They think they can control it. Her heart sunk under the weight of his words, realization crashing over her like icy water. She could barely fathom what he meant, yet the implication tore into her. What happens if they catch us? He growled, muscles tensing, frustration simmering in his voice. If they do, it will mean torment, not just for us but for everything we care about. A flicker of movement in her peripheral vision stole her attention. Whispers wound through the trees, slithering into her ears like an invasive thorn. She glanced back and stumbled as figures emerged, half forming like smoke. Their intentions were clear. They wanted revenge, hunger glimmering in their eyes. The tension took on a physical form, curling inwards, making it hard to breathe. They needed a plan, a way to escape. Then, Ella remembered something, the promise the cloaked figure had made about unlocking her powers. Wait, she called out, desperation painting her words. What if I did join them? What if that's the key? No. The shifter spun to face her, eyes blazing. You cannot. They will twist you, change you into something dark. I cannot let you do that. But doubt crept into her mind like a shadow, gnawing at her resolve. Could she truly stay by his side while leaving this power untapped? The forest pressed in tighter, the world around them constricting like a noose, and she felt the weight of choice pressing heavily on her heart. The growls grew closer, the figures gaining momentum. Ella, he pleaded softly. Trust me. You cannot walk this path. We'll find another way. Desperation surged, mixed with a longing she could not ignore. But before she could respond, the darkness surged forward, a wave crashing against their defenses. In that moment, Ella felt a stirring inside her. It ignited, racing through her veins like wildfire, raw, ancient power awakened in her. I have to know. But before she could harness it, the figures lunged, teeth bared, shadows closing in. Time slipped away, and as fear clashed with courage, Ella faced the darkness head-on, and then the forest erupted into an unholy cacophony, the true battle for their futures about to begin. Would Ella find the strength to stand tall against the encroaching darkness? Or would sacrifice be the only option left? As the piercing howls rose in the night, one question loomed larger than the rest. Was the wolf shifter truly her guardian, or was he hiding secrets of his own? The howls echoed, vibrating the underbrush and sending chills racing down Ella's spine. Adrenaline coursed through her, igniting her senses. The shadows blurred, their forms shifting with a malicious hunger as they closed in. Fear threatened to drown her, but the pulse of power awakening within her fought against it. The shifter's grip tightened on her arm, his gaze pinning hers. Do not let them in, Ella. Fight it. His voice was a snarl, but there was a tremor that betrayed his own fear. Time twisted. Instinctively, Ella inhaled deeply, the rich scent of pine and damp earth filling her lungs. Something primal stirred inside her, answering the call of danger, urging her to embrace the power lying dormant within. But before she could muster a response, the night erupted into chaos. A wave of darkness surged forth, thrashing and spinning with jagged edges like a storm of shadows. The figures lunged, and Ella's heart raced as she witnessed the ferocity mirrored in the shifter's eyes. Get ready, he bit out, poised to spring. The air was heavy, electric, vibrating with a supernatural tension. On my mark. Then they came, snarls slicing through the waning night. Ella braced herself, instincts urging her to fight, but fear wove tight around her throat, stifling her resolve. She wasn't ready for this. She didn't want this. The shifter lunged into action, his form transforming under the moonlight, sinews stretching, muscles rippling. A powerful blur of fur and claws, he barreled into the nearest shadow, ripping through it with a fierce growl. Panic summoned an unexpected strength within her. She could not let him face this alone. Stay close. He barked as teeth snapped mere inches from her. Ella hardly knew what she was doing. She'd never fought back before. But as the darkness threatened to swallow them whole, something awakened. She could feel it, raw, powerful energy surging up through her. In a split second of clarity, she closed her eyes, focusing on that fire blazing within. I can do this, she whispered, more to herself than anyone. Suddenly the shadows pushed against her, cold and clammy like an unwelcomed breeze. They reached with ghostly hands, trying to enfold her in their darkness. Ella gasped, instinctively lifting her hand, willing the power to flow. Light burst from her fingertips, spilling into the night like liquid sun. It surged through the air, engulfing her tired form. The dark figures recoiled, screeching, their hunger replaced with an overwhelming fear. The shifter's gaze widened as he darted back toward her, battling shadows, hackling as they gave ground. What are you doing? He exclaimed, mingling with confusion. I don't know. She cried out, but determination swelled within her chest. She could feel her mother's teachings flutter in her mind. Tales whispered during quiet evenings, stories of ancient power and lost magic. With each pulse of energy, the ground beneath her felt alive, resonating with her. The shadows faltered, but still they didn't retreat fully. Their eyes burned with desperation, frustrated by a sudden shift in the balance of power. More figures appeared from the depths of the trees, surrounding them, determined to reclaim their prize. We cannot lose her. A voice sneered, loud and venomous. It was the cloaked leader, his features barely visible among the tumult. The way their eyes narrowed on Ella sent another jolt of fear through her. You cannot change her fate. She belongs to the moon. The darkness stirred, a cruel chorus of howls ringing in the air, their unholy thirst palpable. Ella's heart raced, but with every wild beat, she felt a bond strengthen between her and the shifter. Takesh, hold on to me, he shouted, lunging back to her side, his own growls clashing with the rage of approaching shadows. Together we can push them back. But as his arm slipped around her waist, a pang of doubt gripped her. Would their combined strength be enough? Or would this decision lead them into deeper peril? As shadows converged, the air thickened with a foreboding intensity. Ella's breath caught in her throat, the realization dawning heavy and stark: if they unleashed this power together, There would be no turning back, and in that moment of revelation, she felt the true cost of their choices looming ahead, dark and relentless. What would she become if she embraced the power rising within her? As the figures lunged once more, would Ella and Takash find the strength to hold the darkness at bay? Or would they pay the ultimate price for their defiance? The shadows lunged at them like hungry wolves, desperation clawing at the edges of Ella's mind. She could feel the dark energy swirling around her, a terrifying force that danced just beyond her control. It whispered doubts, urging her to surrender, to turn back while she still could. Focus. Takash's voice cut through the chaos, steady and fierce. He surged forward, his muscles taut, leaping into the fray with a ferocity that made Ella's heart race. She had to keep pace with him, tethered by the bond they had forged in this moment of crisis. Ella lifted her hand again, and once more that radiant light erupted from her fingertips, glowing like a beacon against the darkness that threatened to devour them. The shadows winced and shrieked, their chaotic forms momentarily halted. She gasped as she felt the energy flow through her, each pulse tightening the bond between her and Takash, weaving their destinies together. "Come on," Takash growled, taking advantage of the moment. He fought fiercely, his claws raking into the closest shadow, ripping it apart as if it were made of mere smoke. But for every shadow they dispelled, more surged forward, drawn by a powerful will to reclaim what they sought. "Why are they so relentless?" Ella shouted, fear creeping into her voice. She felt the weight of their bleak numbers pressing in. "They want you," he replied, a fierce look burning in his eyes. "They'll stop at nothing to claim what the moon has bestowed on you." His words struck her like a slap. The power within her felt more like a curse than a blessing, and she struggled against it, nausea rising in her throat. What had she done? What had she unleashed? "Ella, channel it," Takash yelled as a shadow lunged at him from the right, teeth snapping. He deflected it, his body moving with an agility she had never witnessed before. "Channel it and fight back. You are stronger than you know." She clenched her jaw, forcing back the rising wave of panic. Takash's belief in her ignited a spark of determination. God, she felt so small, so powerless, but beneath that fear, the energy thrummed, waiting to be released. They were surrounded, shadows twisting and thrashing like a storm. The leader's voice echoed through the night, deep and menacing, piercing the howls of his minions. "Your light will dim, girl. You cannot fight destiny." "Watch me," Ella whispered, her voice steadying. She drew in a deep breath, the scent of pine and earth grounding her, and focused on the swirling power inside. As she released it like a dam bursting, a dome of light erupted around them, forcing the shadows back with an overwhelming force. Takash looked at her with awe, his expression shifting as he sensed the tide turning. Then the leader's gaze pierced through the light, fixing onto Ella. "You may be strong now, but we will draw you into our fold, one way or another," he bellowed, fear twisting into rage. In that moment, Ella felt a thread bind her to him, linking their fates in ways that terrified and exhilarated her. Would she truly have to face the darkness alone? Or could they withstand it together? The space around them warped with the clash of powers. Each moment felt infinite as the realization dawned on her. She must become the light that drove away the dark. But as the shadows surged anew, their leader's chilling laughter ricocheted through her mind. With each breath, tension mounted, the air shimmering with uncertainty. With Takash by her side, she felt empowered yet fragile, knowing the battle was only beginning. In the distance she could hear the moon whispering secrets only she could grasp, and just as the next wave of shadows charged, a different truth hit her. Would she embrace her fate, or would fear lead her into endless darkness? As the leader lunged with a fierce glint in his eye, charging toward her with intentions that oozed menace, Ella braced herself. Would this be the moment when she made her choice? Or would she falter when the darkness reached for her heart and soul once more? The leader's form blurred, erupting toward her with a swiftness that stole Ella's breath. Shadows whipped around him, turning the ground beneath into a swirling pit of despair. Every step he took resonated with a cold, sharp certainty, as if he knew the very essence of her being. "Ella!" Takash's voice broke through the chaos, urgency layered with fear. The shadows clawed at his back, but he pressed onward, muscles coiled like a spring, ready to protect her at all costs. And that moment time froze. Ella's heart pounded in her chest, the primal rhythm of a caged animal desperate for escape. She felt the intoxicating energy of her light flicker inside her. Could she amplify it? Could she shape it to hold the darkness at bay? As the shadow leader lunged, Ella instinctively raised her hands stronger than before. The radiant light exploded from her fingertips again, casting a blinding beam toward the oncoming threat. "Stay back!" she shouted, her voice trembling with raw power. The beam struck the leader, causing him to stumble, but only for a heartbeat. He regained his footing, eyes blazing like embers in the night. "You cannot keep me at bay forever, child," he howled, his voice a tapestry of malice and seduction woven with ancient secrets. "This power you wield, it longs for darkness." A sickening chill wrapped around Ella. She couldn't let him get into her mind. Not now. Not ever. No, she screamed, somehow finding strength anew. The dome of light expanded, enveloping Takash as well, igniting palpable energy in the air. But as it bathed them, Ella caught a glimpse of something in the shadows, a fleeting vision of her destiny wrapped tightly around the darkness with threads of both light and despair. Takash was struggling against another shadow that had wrapped itself around him, attempting to pull him under. "Ella!" he gritted out, his fists tearing at the shifting tendrils. "Use everything you have. We need to push them back together." Her fear buoyed her determination, fusing like a flame in adverse winds. "Together," she echoed, feeling that connective bond surge between them. The shadows shrieked, recognizing the strength drawn from their union. With a commanding shout, Ella directed her light, piercing through the gloom, as if threading a needle through the fabric of night. It pulsed brightly, a heartbeat echoing in sync with her racing pulse. The shadows hissed and bent backwards, retreating from the brilliance. But there was still something intoxicating about the darkness, a whisper carried on the wind that teased at the edges of her resolve. "You belong with us, Ella," the leader's voice lured, seductive and deep. "Embrace what you are meant to be. This is your fate." "No," she retorted, but the haunting cadence of his invitation lingered in her mind, igniting something deep within her, a curiosity mixed with an unfathomable fear. As she fought against the shadows, something began to shift. The air thickened, a heavy fog curling around them, pulling Ella's thoughts in a tumultuous dance. The moon hung high, casting a glow that flickered like a flame, and as the leader's eyes pierced into her soul, she felt an inexplicable draw to him, battling against the primal instinct to fight. What if this darkness was part of her destiny? What if the power she held was a call she couldn't ignore? Before the thought could settle, Takash roared, pulling Ella back into the fight. "We have to hold them off. We can't let them win." His determination was fierce, a light within its own right. Just as Ella steadied her resolve, another surge of shadows coiled and struck at her, forcing her back against the barrier of light. The other shadows scuttled behind their leader, waiting for a signal, a pulse of ordered chaos, driven by a fierce desire to protect again. She felt the light around her grow, but the shadows seemed to sense it, a predatory hunger flaring in the leader's eyes. "Your choice will come, and soon," he hissed. It wasn't just a threat. It was the promise of a future that could bend her will, tearing into her core. The air crackled as the shadow surge thundered forward again, the clash echoing with both power and dread. Ella had to make a decision: accept the dark siren call or fight against the tide threatening to drown her. And then the vision came again, the swirl of light and shadows intermingling, a premonition of everything that could still unfold. Would she have the strength to determine her own fate, or would she become just another thread woven into the fabric of darkness? As they clashed, the walls of light flickering, Ella felt the undeniable truth hit her: this fight was far from over, and the shadows were only just beginning to reveal their true intentions. The wave of shadows crashed into Ella's light, sending ripples of energy pulsing through her body. Each collision felt like a punch to her gut, draining her strength with every passing moment. She could feel Takash's arm slip against hers, their connection faltering under the relentless onslaught. "Ella, don't let them in." His voice was frantic, cutting through the chaos like a lifeline. But thoughts of the leader's whisper slithered in, dark tendrils of doubt wrapping around her heart. The blend of darkness and light in her vision sparked both fear and allure. What did it mean? Could she harness the shadows without becoming them? Pushing the thoughts aside, she concentrated, feeling the light flickering within her like a candle in an angry storm. Stay with me, she shouted, turning to Takash, who was still grappling with the shadow trying to ensnare him. With fierce resolve, she directed the light toward him, injecting energy into his struggles. He caught her eye, and in that moment, she saw the determination reflected there, just as strong, just as desperate. They needed each other. Together they summoned their will, pulling the light tighter around them. Darkness snarled, scrabbling at the barrier of brilliance as if seeking a way in. Ella felt it then, a pulse of something ancient within the shadows, a threatening reminder of how easily the balance could tip. We have to push back, she urged, voice steady despite the churning chaos as though echoing her command. Takash gathered every ounce of his strength, channeling it into their defense. The walls of light flared brightly, forcing the shadows to recoil, but each success brought a terrifying balance. For every inch of ground they reclaimed, the darkness grew hungrier. The commander roared, hatred mixed with a sinister delight. You think you can escape your fate? You are merely delaying the inevitable. A jolt of dread shot through Ella. What did he know that she didn't? In that tense moment, a fragment of memory surfaced, a fleeting glimpse of her parents, their faces twisted with sorrow, warning her against the very power thrumming within her veins. It was a power born of both light and dark, one that could either save them or doom them. Ella! Takash's voice broke through her reverie, his urgency jarring her back. Now, we have to break the barrier. Nodding, Ella refocused, the light swirling around her like a vortex, feeding off the dread and courage of their bond. She pushed outward, her hands outstretched, envisioning a world where shadows didn't suffocate the light. The moment they joined forces, a force rippled outward. The darkness cried out in an anguished chorus, shrieks of frustration echoing like a tempest. Ella's heart raced, but there was a thrill in that chaos, an exhilarating power they shared. Yet, even as the shadows writhed and twisted back, doubt still curled at the edges of her resolve. What if I can become stronger? The thought flared anew, insistent. But at what cost? The leader's laughter broke through her musings, the sound a dark melody, promising her everything she secretly yearned for. Join me, Ella. Together we can overthrow them. You will never have to fear again. Stop, she screamed out, fists clenched. I want to be your puppet. But the shadows surged again, seemingly emboldened by her hesitation. They struck harder, pushing her back against the radiant wall. The dome flickered, a warning that time was running out. Takash, lungs heaving, shouted above the din, "Fight, Ella! We can't let them take you." The air around her crackled, shadows tightening their grip, and in that moment of desperation, the tightness in Ella's chest exploded. With a fierce scream, she unleashed a luminous wave, sending a shockwave of light cascading outwards. The darkness howled in panic, but the flickering flames of hope didn't quell. And then, in the chaotic flurry of shadows and blinding light, she saw it, the fleeting image of a doorway, shimmering faintly on the other side of the melee. Could this lead them to safety? But the shadows loomed closer, their whispers taunting her, promising power she had yet to comprehend. As the darkness clawed at her resolve, Ella knew she was at the precipice of a choice that would change everything. Will you answer the call of your own destiny? The leader's voice slithered through the maelstrom, seductive and menacing. With the weight of her world pressing down, Ella's heart thudded in her chest. Each option felt like a plunge into an abyss. But as her vision of the doorway flickered brighter in her mind, a startling truth pushed through. The question hung heavy: could the light truly conquer the dark? Or would she have to embrace a fate she had spent her life trying to escape? As the shadows lunged one last time, she stood, choices swirling around her like the shadows that sought to engulf her. What would she decide when confronted with both light and dark? Ella felt time slow as the shadows lunged, their claws scraping against her resolve. Every scream her own, Takash's. The distant howls of the dark merged into a haunting symphony that reverberated in her bones. The doorway shimmered in her vision, almost teasing her with promises of escape and safety. But it was more than that. It was a siren call drowning out her fears and doubts. Ella, what are you doing? Takash's voice sliced through the tension, the urgency in it grounding her in that moment. He thrived in the storm of chaos, his will a beacon that mirrored her own struggle. I have to reach it, she shouted back, her voice steady despite the tightening fist around her heart. What lay beyond the doorway? Freedom? Darkness? a realm filled with answers or even deeper questions. The shadows broke against her light, as if pushed by some unseen force, and she could feel the energy crackle, a living thing between them, but the commander seized that moment of uncertainty. You can't outrun who you are, Ella. Embrace the shadows. They will give you strength beyond measure, far more than that fading light you cling to. His words dug into her, brushing against the already raw places of doubt. She drew in a breath, sensing the weight of his promise. Could she conquer the darkness? Or would it consume her, silencing every shred of her humanity? Think, Ella. That doorway may lead to death. Takesh's command brought her crashing back. Guilt surged through her. She didn't want to abandon him, not when he fought so fiercely at her side. The bond between them surged like a lifeline, and as she focused on it, the light around them pulsed with new intensity. Together, she cried. The word felt like a promise, a pledge of unity in their struggle. It became a rallying cry as they summoned every ounce of their will. With her heart racing, she directed the light toward Takesh, sharing the energy that flowed between them, igniting his spirit. The shadows recoiled, roaring in frustration as the wall of brilliance surged brighter. Ella could feel the warmth in her chest pushing back against the icy tendrils of fear. The further she leaned into the light, the more it seemed to expand, pushing against the void hungry to claim them both. But the doorway glimmered tantalizingly within the storm. Was it worth the risk? It felt like a gamble, life and death colliding in her mind, swirling with visions of what lay beyond. Should she jump through tempting fate? Or stay and fight against the shadows? Ella! Takesh growled, the fight in him unyielding despite the shadows clawing at his feet. Make the choice. His mantra echoed in her ears, transforming doubt into something almost fierce. In that moment, as she looked into his eyes, she knew. She could either fight the shadows or let them enfold her in their dark embrace. But she wouldn't go without Takesh. His gaze anchored her, grounding her spirit in the chaos with renewed purpose. Ella drew upon every fiber of her being. She unleashed a blinding wave of light that surged toward the doorway, bending the shadows back, creating a gap she knew they could slip through together. We can do this. Follow me. They bolted toward the shimmering embrace of the doorway, energy crackling around them. The shadows howled with an angry vengeance, and just before they reached it, Ella stole one last glance back at the commander. His eyes brimmed with rage, but there was something else glimmering there too: fear. The doorway pulsed, a vibrant heartbeat that called out with the promise of safety. But as they leapt into its depths, a chilling thought pierced her heart. Was the hell that awaited them on the other side any safer than the darkness they'd just escaped? As they crossed the threshold, everything around them shifted. A dizzying whirlwind enveloped them in blinding light, suffocating the shadows' cries. But in the seconds that stretched endlessly, Ella was struck by that nagging question. What awaited them beyond this threshold escape? Or a deeper plunge into the shadows that threatened to claim her heart? The world spun around Ella and Takesh, the blinding light swallowing them whole. Then suddenly a cool breeze wrapped around them, grounding her senses as they landed in an unforeseen clearing under a vast night sky. Ella blinked, the warmth of hope mingling with disbelief as she looked around. They'd escaped, but at what cost? Tall trees framed the edge of the clearing, their leaves whispering secrets above a soft carpet of moss. The moon hung heavy and low, bathing everything in silvery light. Are we safe? She panted, her heart racing even more now that the rush of battle settled into a haunting silence. Takesh looked around, his eyes scanning for danger, but relief danced in the depths of his gaze. For now, he replied, his voice thick with emotion. The tension dissipated from his shoulders, ever so slowly allowing space for gratitude to surface. Ella took a breath, feeling her heart thud painfully against her ribcage. We made it, she murmured, still in disbelief. She was filled with a sense of accomplishment, but a flicker of doubt pulled at the edges of her consciousness. What did it all mean? Let us not celebrate just yet, he warned, still on high alert. The shadows could follow. His words sent a chill racing down her spine, but deep inside, she felt the light pulsing ever so slightly within her. It was the power they had summoned together, a bond forged through that fight. That tether was now stronger than any fear of the encroaching darkness. I can feel it, Takesh. We have to embrace this power, she said, the newfound determination bubbling to the surface. I don't want to run from it anymore. We can fight together. He hesitated, as if weighing her words. It's dangerous, Ella. You might become what we fought against. She stepped closer, determined. But I could also protect us. This is part of me now. We've faced so much to push deeper into the light. The knight danced with potential as he regarded her. A war of emotions playing across his face. Trust battled against fear. And a profound understanding seemed to bloom between them. Let us not dwell in the past, he finally said. His voice low but solid, like the very earth beneath them. Whatever awaits us, we'll face it shoulder to shoulder. With newfound resolve they stepped forward, hearts aligned and minds set. The shadows that had once sought to consume them became whispers of uncertainty floating behind. She felt free. This moment was theirs to seize, unbound by what had come before. Yet, there was still work to be done. The energy simmering in her veins urged her to push forward, to learn and to explore what lay ahead. A fresh sense of purpose ignited within her and spread like wildfire. I will understand this power, she whispered to Takash, glancing up at him, and together, we will find a way to break the curse that binds you. His expression softened, a flicker of hope shining through the storm of his worries. You think it's possible? She nodded, her gaze steadfast. It has to be. In that moment of clarity, Takash grinned, a smile that reached his eyes, making everything feel lighter. Then let us start by finding allies. There are others outside the shadows, those who can help us. Ella smiled back, feeling warmth spread through her chest. Hope danced between them like fireflies igniting that dark night. Together, they took a first step into the unknown, hearts bound to the whisper of the woods that welcomed their resolve. Every breath they took felt like a declaration, each step a commitment to face the dangers that lay ahead, not as isolated souls, but as partners in a dance between light and dark. As they ventured further into the clearing, laughter bubbled forth instinctively, the thrill of the unknown replacing fear. It echoed like a promise in the open air, signaling a fresh beginning. They would learn from this journey. They would accept the light and darkness within, instead of turning away. And they would reclaim the night for themselves. Hey, before we wrap this up, I have something important to say. If you want to catch the next part of this gripping saga, you need to subscribe now. I mean it, this is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to keep us afloat in this sea of stories. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. Have you ever felt torn between light and dark? I want to hear your thoughts. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans will understand how crucial it is to support the channel through these actions. Let us keep this journey going together. You don't want to miss what happens next.